Good evening, everyone. We're going to be beginning our book review. Today is, I believe, October 18th, 2020. Sorry, we're a little bit late today. As our custom, we'd like to grateful for another opportunity to be able to come together and to be able to review the book. Great things are happening. Just want to admonish all of us that the importance of the book club is for us to develop ourselves, develop our mind through books, expand our minds, expand our imagination, discover principles that would make us a better man and a better woman. And that's the whole essence of that's the whole essence of reading books. And I want to use this to encourage everyone. If there's anything that plagues our generation, is we don't read books. We are so busy with life. We are so busy doing other things. We can even be busy with church, but we don't even have time to read books or don't have time to read even the Bible. But it's very important in our life for us to endeavor that we are readers. Readers are leaders. If you're going to lead, if you're going to be the head in your generation, you're not just going to be the head by saying we shall be the head and not the tail. What's going to make you the head? Knowledge is going to make you the head. Knowledge is going to make you stand out. And God didn't send you and I to this earth to live an average life. God sent us to live an exceptional life, to be a blessing to our world. That when your days are over, you are left a sand in the history of time. But sadly, today, many people are living their lives and they are not living a life of, they're not being victorious in life. They're just going through the motions of life. And that's not the essence of life. The essence of life is for you to rule and reign and for God to use you to extend his kingdom. And just as we are reading this book, to also teach the next generation that the next generation that's coming after you would be raised, would have core values, would be a value driven, it would be value driven, that they know what it is to love and to give love. They know what it is to discover their purpose, discover their calling. They have discovered all those things about their life, and they are living it. They're living life to the fullest. They're living life to the fullest. They're enjoying their life. They are being a blessing to their generation. They are not just working for a paycheck, or they're not just working for one thing or the other. They have truly discovered the essence of life. So that's why God gave us children. God gave us children so that we can teach them the ways of God, the principles of God, so that we can create core values in them. For us that are approaching middle age, when we were growing up, it was all about going to school, get a good job. Those are great. But now, in my study, I've discovered that is not the whole essence of life. The whole essence of life is for you to, first of all, discover yourself, discover your calling, and then go out and fulfill it. And in fulfilling that, then you extend that to the next generation. So it's very important for us to understand that these are the core values that we need to imbibe. We need to imbibe in our lives. We need to imbibe these principles in our lives. We shouldn't just raise our children. We need to be intentional on the way we raise our children. If we are not intentional, then our children would just be average if we're not intentional with the way we raise our children. Every single day we need to, okay, have you read that book? And funny enough, when I was growing up, when I was not when I was growing up, when I was coming up as a young single bachelor, I had this pastor friend in my church, and in the church I would fellowship in. And when I get there, I noticed one thing in the morning. He would tell his children to go and read, and they will go and read. And 1 hour later, they will all come back, and they will all and he will ask them, okay, what did you read in the book? And they will tell him, what did you read in the book? And after they have done that, now he will now tell them, okay, now go and clean your room. And they will go and clean their room. And then after that, now time to eat. And then for instance, now I get to watch everything. I know that years later, his children are one of the best in the city, or you can say the city or the country. And I noticed that it didn't just happen by accident. It didn't just happen by chance. It didn't just happen by luck. It happened by being intentional. It happened because that pastor was intentional in the way he was raising his children. He didn't just allow them to wake up whenever they want to wake up or do whatever they want to do. No, he told them, okay, go and read this book. Sometimes they will read the Bible, and they'll read the Bible, and after they've read the Bible, they will come to church and they will recite the scripture, or they will say, this is what I got, or this is what I got, this is what I learned, this is what I learned. And those things are what endeavor them. Those things are what help them. Those things are what shaping them to be what they are today. So if we want our children to excel in life, we need to sow the seed today. If we want our children to be everything that they need to be, we need to sow that seed in them. If we don't sow that seed in them, then we are allowing whatever can happen. Anything can happen. Anything can happen to them. And growing up, I used to notice that, there's a saying that, pastors' children are very wayward. They're very wayward. But in reading this book, How to Create Core Value in a Child, I discovered that is not true. A lot of times as pastors, we are so busy in ministry that we forget our primary ministry, which is in raising our children. So we all have a role to play in creating core values. And when you take a look at society today, you see that the way society is going is that everyone is so busy trying to make money. Everybody's so busy trying to make it. But then they abandon their children. Also, you see a lot of broken homes. You see a lot of single mothers. You see a lot of things. And these are the reason why we see people shootings and all these things we're seeing, because those core values that are needed in any child are not being formed. So we need to endeavor ourselves to pour in core values into our child. And as you're reading this book, it also shares some light in some of the struggles I have in my life. Some of the things that maybe, I said it. I think I said it last time, that our upbringing was not perfect. It was just God's grace, because our parents didn't know what we know today. So it's expedient for us to make sure that you and I now go out and now begin to form core values in our child. Now, in this book, you get an understanding of what is the most important thing that you must do for your child. What is the most important thing that you must do for your child? And I want to let us know that the most important thing that we can do for our children is to help them to discover his or her area or her passion. Funny enough, and that's why I was saying that when I was taking a look at my life, I noticed that my parents didn't really help me to discover my passion, but they didn't know. So for me now, I now know that, for instance, I have two girls, so therefore it is my job to help them to discover their passion. Help them to discover what do they have passion for. So the most important thing that we can ever do for them, apart from showing them love, apart from helping them with schoolwork, is to help them to discover their passion. But where our parents miss it is that they help, go and be an engineer, or go and be a doctor, go and be a this. Yes, but do you have passion for that? Because that itself will give you everything that will give you money, that will give you joy, that will give you peace, that will give you everything. So we need to make sure that we help them at the early age, as early as possible. Even now, begin to study them, begin to discover what is the things that give them life. What is the thing that makes them, that gets them going? We need to help them to discover it early, and help them to develop that area so that they can be everything that they can be. And then also we need to also help them to discover what life is about. Life is not about money. Life is not about our certificates. Life is that you are here for a special mission, and you need to help them to discover what that mission is and encourage them to go out and carry it out. So you need to discover what is that mission. What is that mission that God sent them here? I've always said that when God gives you children, God didn't give you children for the sake of giving you children. God gave you children because those children have a special mission. So now, a couple of weeks ago, my wife gave birth to a child. So that child has a special mission on earth. So when you are home right now, and let's say you're home with your children, as you are seeing them running around, you need to have in the back of your mind that he has a special mission. And one of the best things I can do for them is to help them to discover what that mission is, develop them in that area so that they can do what God sent them here on earth. Another thing I want to share, and I'll open up for whoever else wants to speak, is never compare your child to another. Never compare your child to another. And this is very common amongst Africans. We always like to wear, especially when you go to church. Look at him, he's so well behaved. Or look at her, she's so well mannered. Look at her, look at how she dressed. We make that is great. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can ever make, is compare yourself to other people. And it follows us, because if your parents do it to you, then you will do it to yourself. You will compare yourself to other people. So in this book, Dr. Sunday Lilache made it known that we should never ever compare ourselves to another, because it can affect our self-confidence and it can cause our child not to be happy with themselves, never being content with themselves. No, we should never ever compare ourselves with the other, because it can affect their confidence. It affects them growing up. They now begin to live. They now begin to, when they feel they don't measure up, they're not happy and all that. So I will stop for now, and I don't know if there anyone else wants to speak concerning what they got from the book. Anyone wants to speak? Sister Diola, are you there?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Pastor Niran. Good evening, Sister Pat. Good evening, Sister Kenny. Happy Sunday to us. Yeah. I want to talk. I'm sorry. Hey, I want to talk about chapter 8, talking about fear.
Yeah.
And in this chapter, it was more or less about how we as a family, especially the couple, how we don't allow our own internal rowling or going through be such display in front of our children that could create in them fear. And when I was reading this chapter, I remember the time I was pregnant that last year. And because of some medical story that they used to cook up, that and fibroids or what have you, I used to have a kind of pain that once the pain hook me like this, I won't be able to walk, I will not be able to do anything. So when my children, anytime they see me already in that pain like that, all of them will just be saying, and you know, the second daughter and the first girl, they were now doing meeting, I will never marry. I don't imagine what kind of pain is this, you know. They were just talking to themselves. I now saw that, wow. So just because of this little thing they saw, the pain they see me witness, it's already forming a kind of perspective inside of them to not want something. Is, you know, so do I have to explain to them why and some other things? But in that chapter there was a story of a family that was being profiled there, and such that when the man is at home, everybody is afraid because the man is not getting the kind of job of his dream, so he's always searching for work. The money is earning is not enough, and because of that, the house is always, it's always on fire and what have you. So the children too, they get to pick from the surrounding, the environment, and they, and it kind of affects them. They are always living in fear. They are not always be able to express themselves, and it has a way of affecting the internal security and the emotional balance that a child can have. So the home also is a component in helping children not to have an inner value system that is for round of fear of fear of cowardice or any kind of timidity, you know. Because in that kind of environment, you will not be able to express yourself. You just want to shut down. Everybody just don't want, you don't know what the dad will say next. Everybody just want to go away, you know. So I began to see why this is very important in our decision making, and in our, even if we have this misunderstanding, this place was saying it that we should make sure that we tidy up our internal whatever, not before the children, such that they don't have a cripple or a psyche that is going to extend to a kind of excessive exertion, or that will make them to leave the house with a kind of atmosphere or mentality that this is what is obtainable, and that also can affect their low self-esteem. So that's what I want to ship in from chapter 8.
Yeah, that's really good. That chapter was, to me, was very rich in speaking about fear. And it also teaches you how to deal with fear in your child. That if you notice that your child is fearful, that there are certain things that you
Yes.
should there's certain, and that's what I like in this chapter. In that chapter, it gives you tips, and I think that those tips, we
Yeah.
should read it,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think that's very important.
Mhm.
Mhm. So it says tips
Yes,
for
you're right.
children.
You're right.
Treat treat the child with caution if he finds it hard to fall asleep and restless when he sleeps. Only falls asleep when with the light on or in the presence of everyone, has low self-esteem, or cannot be alone by himself. In order not to provoke a sense of fear, don't scare with devilish objects, a vicious dog or wolf or someone else like his uncle.
Mhm.
Keep track of what your kid is watching and
Yeah.
reading. Deal with your personal fears so as to not infect your child with them. That to me was very powerful right there. The two things that are very powerful is that you have to observe what they are watching, and the other one is to deal with your own personal fear. Because if you don't deal with your own personal fear, indirectly, just like Sister Adiola said, you are going to pass it on to your child. If you don't deal with, and that just boils us to all of life, that if we don't deal with certain things in our lives, if we don't deal with certain things that plague us, you are going to transfer. If you're not careful, you're going to transfer it. So that's why it's very important for us as parents to work on ourselves. It's very important for us as parents to always reading, always being the. Then and now I was like, wow. When I take a look at Dr. Sunday Elijah's children, well behaved, accomplishing great things, but it's not because they work on themselves. they are working on themselves. They're being the best that they can be, so that they don't indirectly transfer. And that to me was like an eye opener. That if I have fears, if I have fear of whatever, indirectly I can be passing it on to them, because they are watching me. They're not just watching what I am saying, they are watching what I am doing. They are watching how I respond to things, how I respond to situations, how I react to things. And that is what they are going to copy. So it's not a generational cause, as as a lot of churches will be saying. It is that they are watching you, they are seeing you, they are seeing how do you respond to fear. Do you allow fear to ravage you? And I'm sure that for us to have young children, you always notice that they're always scared of the dark and stuff like that. So now I know that I have work to do to help her to overcome that fear. By talking to her, by paying attention to what she's watching. Is the things that she's watching, are they causing her to be fearful? And this is the season of Halloween. And everything on YouTube or everything is always Halloween. So I have to now be careful not
Yes.
to allow her to watch those things, because those things will just provoke fear. And then eventually it'll be difficult for her to sleep alone or even in the dark. Sister Adele, I think you want to say something.
Halloween. There's somebody in this neighborhood that just because of Halloween, all the costume and what have you, they put in their house. And the children want to pass. They don't want to look at that side. That kind of a thing that is just scary and is promoting fear. It was when you mentioned that Halloween, I was just like attesting to the fact that there are so many things that even in the surroundings too that can create fear in the children, and we ought to be able to balance uh, when we are doing our work well with them, so that they will not, sometimes they will just look aside. When we want to go out, my children will not just look at that side. Those are some of the things that is common. But when we have done our work well, regardless, though that is how they could overcome it for now. But one thing I want to try to explain in this place is that when you have already done the internal fixing, everything that you see outside will not be able to go deep, will not be able to affect you inwardly. Though you can look for how to shut away the fear, to look for how to make sure that the source or everything creating that fear, you don't want to feed on it every time, so that you don't form your subconscious mind. But at the same time, you now have something that is so solid inside of you that you know that regardless of whatever you see or what, that that fear is not real, and that you are not alone by yourself, and that there is God, and you can always believe that God will see you, and you don't have anything to be afraid of as a child of God. You can be confident in that. That's what I mean.
Thank you for that. That was really good. But I really want to end the how to read a child of fear. Is the first one is find out what's the cause of the fear. And the second one is do the activity in the form of a conversation, a game, where you show that actually it is not scary. So we should, just like I started out by saying that from reading this book, you just learn. If there's anything that you get from this book, is that you have to be intentional with your child. You have to be intentional with your child. So, and then you just do a game then to build self-confidence, give child tasks that they can cope with. Be in a relationship with the child, confident that you will impact the child. Be in a relationship with the child, confident that you will impact the child. So it's just those are the ways to deal with if you are noticing traces of fear. And we shouldn't overlook certain things that we see. We should look for, okay, what activities can I create that will help her or help him not to be fearful in the dark? Or just like Sister Adela said that about the whole Halloween thing, how can I help them not to be fearful about things, or how to be fearful about animals and stuff like that? How can I help them overcome that? Because even me, like for me right now, if you bring a dog to this house, I'll be scared. I don't like dogs, you know. So, but then I'm also trying. I don't want my daughter to be like that, you know. So It's just for us to learn how can we make sure that our children don't live fear, because that fear will can lead to being something that won't, and I pray that it won't be so in Jesus' name. Sister Titi is here, so I don't know if she wants something she wants to share.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Sorry for me joining late.
Oh,
I
no
joined
problem.
late. I was in the meeting, just finished from church, and I'm just leaving the church now.
Oh, wow.
So I've heard what you have said. You said to be deliberate, to be intentional. And to me, I think core value, when we are talking about core value generally, we need to we need to train our children how to be respectful from young. Then I heard you talking about Halloween. Well, about Halloween, how not to be scary about it, how not to be bold, and to be intentional about taking care of our children. That is one thing that I discussed with somebody today, that be intentional, be deliberate. We are not here to throw our child away, or to lost our child in America. There are some things that is we need to promote as a family, as a Christian. You've talked about boldness, you've talked about fearing God, how to fear God, and then how to create, to be intentional and to be deliberate about training up our children. You last time that we talked about this, we talked about love. Love too is something that we have to be passionate about it. Intentional, deliberate, have to come with full force of passion, passionate about them getting it right, and getting it right for the first time, getting it right all the time. We talked about when we are young, the mistakes that we make, that our children should not go through what we have went through. Another thing is about, in this society that we find ourselves, how can we do it, muggle everything up with the caring of children? It's so intense, the environment is so intense, and you have to pay bills, you have to pay that, and to do everything possible. But when you remember about being intentional as a parent, you want to, it's not that, okay, it's good for us to leave our children to go and spend holiday, but just look at it. I got to a certain stage that I need to be told about the facts and the truth about who we leave our children with, then how we leave them. Even though you have trained your child, you've support your child, you've created that boldness, you've created that love, you create that passion. You are not permissive parent. You discipline when you are to discipline, and you listen well. But when like, okay, go and stay with my friends, or go and pass a night in somebody's place, fine, they are your family friends, they are even your sister and your brother. That one to has to be deliberate and intentional. As a parent, in fact, there was a time I took my children to my pastor's place, because I just looked at it that my pastor is somebody I can trust, you know. But getting there, is a pastor, but yet is a family friend that we have known each other for back at home back in Africa, back in Nigeria. Get taking me for me to take the child, and the pastor's husband said, "No, Titi, you are not going to do this." That day I was like, what is this man talking about? But I was so furious and angry about it that I know that you have older kids, and my kid is just like 3 years old. Just to spend one night with you, and you're saying no. You see, what are you trying to say? But I later get it right that, see, you can't do that as a parent that cares, that love your kids, because you don't really know what the other people, what they are going through, or what they are at home. You have to protect this child, and he has to explain for me one by one, using others people's experience, using all the terminology that he knows for me to get it right. And that one now taught me a lesson. It's not that maybe passing a night in somebody's house is not right, but in the middle of the night, you wake up, you pray for your child. You have to be intentional about it. You have to be deliberate about it. You pray, you cover your family with prayer. So that one too goes about be care and to be deliberate about it, to show love. So it's not all the family that does that. When they come back from school, you pick them, because everything in life to me is not about money. You know, people who like, yes, I need to get this dollar. They will leave the children alone from morning till night. I know some people, we need to pay our bills, but please, we still need to train ourselves. I know at a point my husband needs to tell me that, see, you have to sit down and take care of this child, these children, and let me go and be hustling for us. If it's to buy one clothes, if it's to use one car, so that these children, you can train them in the way of the Lord, and you can actually monitor them. It's not only for us to just leave a book. That Pastor Nero, you can remember that book that I told you, Living Like Jesus Christ, which we said something yesterday that we teach leading like Jesus Christ. A parent needs to slow down to actually listen to the children, and he talks about taking the children out, creating time for them. After the dinner, walk out, pray along with your children, pray along your community, your house, and your neighborhood. That too, I know is not easy as a parent, which I'm still working through myself. But I know by the grace of God, we'll get there very soon. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah. Thank you so much. That was really good.
Can I have number 10?
Number 10?
Yes.
Okay, so I also want to speak about which is something that Sister Titi mentioned, which I believe is very important, that our children need to see us showing love, need to see parents, husband and wife, showing love to each other. It is very, very important. For me, when my parents I don't even think I've ever seen them express any kind of affection towards each other. So it's also important for us, especially the young, us that are approaching, we're 30, on our 30s, or approaching 40s or 50s, that we need to make sure that our children are seeing that, because where they're going to understand what love is by virtue of their home, their surroundings. So, and that's very important. and that will help them to be confident in society. So if there's no anything else that anyone wants to add, we will just close it there for today. I want to give some announcements, but I don't know if Sister Adela or anyone has any question. We can also take questions too, so that we don't just.
You don't get the order before. How much is that?
So,
I thought Sister Pat wanted to say something.
Is this Sister Pat?
Yes, it's Sister
Or
Pat.
let's just hear her voice, even though I think she's very busy, so she told me that she won't be able to.
She says so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have anything you want to add?
Okay. Yes. Keep it low, please. Then what I wanted to say when I was the next chapter that talks about teaching children about equity.
How are you?
I'm sorry. I was the next chapter that talks about justice, equity, and fairness. That is, we try to let our children learn that in life, that life is subject to laws and regulation, and that there is always consequence for violating and for not following through. Because in Nigeria, like the way we were brought up, if we see red lights in Nigeria, you can go. Once you see that there's no last man watching or seeing you, you can pass. Your If you get to a public place and people are queuing, you can
Thank you.
do any you can count the queue just so that you can do your turn on time. All those little things that we took for granted in Nigeria that we believe is normal. It shows you are smart. It shows you are not a dull person. But here, we need to consciously also let our children see why it is right to always do what do to follow through, because there is fairness in law, so that if they break a law, they know there is a repercussion, and there is always a price for every violation of set aside rules. So then I love another thing that he said during the tips for parents, that says, don't lie to your children. Never you lie to your children. Openly express your position in relation to injustice and unrighteousness or anything that is going on. Like this thing that is going on in Nigeria now, NSAS and what have you. When my children started seeing my status and people were showing all those things, I need to see them and let them see why and what it's all about and what we are supposed to do in relation with that. So let me not take it too much. So that is where I just want to mention that we should also make sure that we let them know what justice is all about, and fair treatment. Whenever we see it, we must not keep quiet. You should know it's part of the way they are brought up, that when you see injustice, you must know that this is not right and you must open up and make sure you condemn it and not just keep quiet in the midst of it.
Yes, that's really good.
Thank you.
About being fair and showing them fairness, not just talking and showing it, living a life of justice, equity, of fairness. Even if you have maybe 3 or 4 children, you're not showing partiality. You don't have a favorite and the other one are just there watching that will affect them. So we need to show them justice, we need to show them fairness, we need to show them that life is based on laws and principles. And if you practice those principles, things will work for you. If you don't practice those principles, there's no shortcut to making it. Those things are very, very, very important. Any others?
Um, my own that I will still need to. My question is how can I actually deal with 3 boys when they are hyperactive without me being being let me say being mean, or without me spanking them all the time, because as you are talking to this is doing the same thing, and I'm quick to actually spank. I don't at time I find it so difficult, so to say.
Okay, Sister Diola, you are the veteran mother here in the house, so we want to hear
Hey,
from you.
yeah, I will just tell Sister Titi if she doesn't mind and she's open-minded, I will just refer her to DSA or Sunday Odelaje official to go to the family series, how to handle children age 0 to 1. She should just go through the family series and start from the topic number one that has to do with raising children from different age brackets. I believe she will find, because sometimes we as parents, we first need to deal with ourselves. Maybe our emotions, how we react. We first need some areas, internal workings. Me, I'm not there yet, so I won't tell you. This afternoon, I still gave this one that is doing anyhow, Sabara and slap all together. So sometimes they will tell you you should calm down. I'm trying to calm down, but sometimes when I'm unable to calm down, I still and when I've already warned them, Elizabeth, please, I'm sorry. So these are some of the things that I'm also managing. So, but I believe that that family series too was of help. There was a time that I was watching
Sir?
every night,
Hello, sir.
all those series.
No one
I will
is
help you check the.
Joppa.
I'll send you the list. I'll send you the list. I can do that for you because I know you will be able to see other things that beyond whatever we say here can also help you.
Yeah, just like
That's the
Sister
way
Diola said, which is very important, is that number one, you have to, I believe you have to be patient, but there needs to be acquired knowledge. You have to acquire knowledge, just like your situation is different from mine because I have girls, you have boys, and I have an idea of how it means because I told you I think the last time I shared that um my wife's sister, she has boys, and I saw how they are. I was like, wow, so is this what it means to have boys? So I think first of all you have to be patient, but you equally have to acquire knowledge, and then whatever knowledge you acquire, you need to apply it. So by virtue of reading, listen to DSA's topics on those areas, but equally you might have to also read some books on how to effectively raise boys, and then have that like maybe as something that you're looking into, so that we all have our own gray areas of how we discipline children, but we also equally need to understand that we're in this. The way we were trained was not necessarily I'm not saying it's the wrong way, but there's some things that can be done with style that we need to acquire through knowledge. So I believe if you apply those things and also prayers too, that you will be able to handle your boys. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mhm.
Sister Dora.
No problem. Okay, everyone. We're at the end of our topic for today. Please, just wanted to share some things. As you all know, I think in the next 2 weeks or so, the time is going to be changing. So it's going to be moving up 1 hour. So we're still going to be keeping the same 4 p.m. 4 p.m. to about 5 as our time to review the books. So the next book review will be in 2 weeks from now. I believe that is actually going to be November, sometime in November, I believe. I'm not sure. But so let's keep that in mind. And the next book is Eat That Frog. Um, Eat That Frog. It has to do with procrastination. So we're going to be dealing with how practical ways of how to deal with procrastination. So that will be what we'll be reading in the next 2 weeks. Also, last time I shared about a new thing that we're trying to do. As you notice that when you read all these books, they are loaded with so much content that, in a way, it seems like we're not really. To me, it feels like we're not really doing justice to that book. So we decided that we're going to keep the book club going the way it is, in the sense that every 2 weeks we're going to be reviewing a book. But what I've decided I want to do is that we're going to have certain books that we are going to actually go through chapter by chapter. So we have decided that, okay, we're going to have certain books that we do, that every single chapter, one of us will present that chapter or that sub-chapter if the chapter is too long. And then for about maybe half an hour to 45 minutes. And you can now share what you got in that chapter and how it applies to you and what are the lessons that you got there. So it will be, of course, it will be recorded here live on a YouTube format. So we have decided, I know Sister Pa is all the way in UK. We have decided that we're going to do 8 p.m. on 8 p.m. on Friday. But if we notice that some of the people in UK want to participate, we can equally schedule a morning session for you if you are the one teaching. Not necessarily saying that you have to join because it's night. So we don't want to exclude anyone. We want to carry everybody along. So we can equally set up a session for those that are in UK in the morning or whatever time works best for them. So they can, and we will now try to log in to accommodate her to join in our own teaching to also encourage her. So that's what. So that one's totally different from what we're doing. I'm not trying to bring any confusion. So we're going to be starting that next month. I will let you know the date. I'll let you know the date. And the book we're going to actually be doing is actually what to do with your time. What to do with your time is going to be the first book. So, but I will I'll post that possibly tomorrow and let you know the start dates, and then we're going to go from there. Now, the way it's also going to work is that it's going to be a book every 3 months. I don't want us to be doing one book for 6 months or one book, because we're here to challenge ourselves. We're here to push ourselves. We're here to push ourselves. So every 3 months, we are going to be moving to the next book. So that means we're going to have our once every 2 weeks, but we're going to have what I call super, I don't know if it's going to super Saturday or super Sunday or what day we're going to choose. That day, that means that day, the whole day, we're going to be do reviewing that book. So that means we'll have some people review in the morning, we'll have some people review in the afternoon, we'll have some people review in the evening, we'll have some people maybe even review in the night. So we're just going to be reviewing that book. So if we have a book that has 10 chapters, we might have to be doing maybe about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 chapters just on that day. But remember, everyone, you are just presenting your own chapter. You're just presenting what you got from that chapter. And then you can always have it as a book. Oh, instead of reading the book, let me go and you can go on YouTube to check, or maybe it will also be on Facebook too. You can also see a copy. Oh, okay, let me get refresher on that book, on what Sister Titi said about that book, Sister Diola said, or what Sister Pat said, or what I said. So at least you are able to know that, wow, okay, that's what we did in that book. So we're going to have 3 months, every 3 months will be a new book. So, but the first book is going to be what to do with your time. And then the book that we are reading in our book club, if we notice that this book is very rich, we'll add it to our list of books that we have to dissect. So that's basically what we're going to do with that. I don't know if anyone has any questions or any suggestions or additions. Or you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I understand. My baby is just not cooperating. It's a good idea.
No problem.